What's up? You're listening to Historia.
And Jamie.
That was good, wasn't it?
Oh.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was good. I'm Kylie. Don't leave. Stay.
I'm just hungry.
Me too. We gotta get through this episode so we can eat. This is our 4th episode of the night.
I got a good one, too.
I'm very excited.
This one,
Should we just start?
honestly.
We don't have much of an intro, I feel like.
No, because we're already 3 in. So this 4th one. But this one, I am excited to do.
Woohoo.
I took another quiz.
Okay.
It wasn't the answer that I wanted, but it inspired me for this week's.
Well, can you tell me what the quiz was called, and then I'll guess who you got, or what you got?
Which museum are you?
I'm guessing a history museum of some sort.
Well, it was very specific.
What is it?
I got the National History
History?
Oh my God. The Museum of Natural History
Nice.
in New York. And I was like, oh, well, what if I do that? But I was like, I don't know. I want to do something because I'm sure it has like a great backstory and I would love to cover it at some point. But I was like, I want to do something a little different.
You doing an art museum?
Maybe. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. On this show, we have discussed influential people, disasters that still surprise us to this day, and even good old mythology.
Yes, we have. We've done all those things. And drinks.
Yes.
Talked about a drink.
Heck yeah. We study these impactful events and people, and a main source to know more about them is a museum. Oh, did you know that?
Wow, I never heard of that before. What's a museum?
Going into a museum, I find there are 2 kinds of people.
Okay.
There are the readers who go through the museum slow, really just bask in the rich information, the beautiful setup from the curators and the rest of the staff. Mm-hmm. And then you have the second type of person who is called, as I call them, the runners. The runners, like my mother and my sister, skims through the place, taking what appeals to their eyes and gets through whatever really quick.
No, I read everything.
I do too. Me and my dad, we are big history buffs.
Yeah.
So my mom actually tagged me on Facebook. I guess the World War II museum, they expanded it again and they added more. So my mom was like, your dad wants to go. And I was like, I'll take him.
That's my dad and I too. We were always the ones that are reading it. We're like, wow, look at this. And my mom's just like,
oh yeah. Like my dad and I will just stand there and just read everything. And it was the same when James and I went to Cody, Wyoming, and we went to their museum there. And James, he read a lot, but I was like reading everything. And he was just like going through, doing whatever. And I was like, this is really interesting because I was reading the history about the person behind the city, behind the town, and it was really interesting.
Yeah.
So I would like to cover him at some point. So let's continue.
This is quite the intro.
Some museums, a couple of hours is enough to read through, while others take days, like the Natural Museum. Yeah. Now, today I'm going to be discussing a museum we have briefly discussed before in one of our episodes, and the rich history it holds just by itself. So let's begin the story of the Louvre Museum.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. There is so much history to this.
Now I'm trying to figure out what your big episode's going to be.
Yeah.
Beethoven and the Louvre.
Yeah. You can guess.
Is it an artist of some sort? I don't know. It has to be something big. We'll figure it out.
Going back 800 years to 1190 CE. So this is going back, way back. King Philippe Auguste in Paris, France, built a fortress to keep his small city safe and built it along the right bank of the Seine River.
Mm-hmm.
So Paris was pretty small at one point. Like this, like where you see the walls of the Louvre, that was like an outer bank to protect the city at one point. And now it's like in the center of the town. Like, yeah, Paris has expanded significantly. Now, who were they protecting themselves from? Well, the good old Vikings.
Oh,
of course. my ancestors. Woo! I want to do the Vikings. They're so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They named this fortress the Louvre. It stood about 18,500 square feet and was a square shape in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
In the center of the building was this grand tower. Like it was a huge kind of just like to make sure like, oh, no one was coming in that we didn't want them to.
Yeah, makes sense.
This place became reliant and secure that the royal treasury would move here in 1317.
Oh, wow.
So it was around for a good chunk before like the royal treasure, like the royal family was like, okay, this place is pretty legit. Like it's actually protecting. As time would pass, so would the expansion of Paris. The defense fortress was becoming useless to what it was built to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just like, this isn't really working out. Paris is getting bigger. It's not protecting the outer banks of what we wanted. Instead of abandoning the building in 1365, King Charles V moved from his I was going to look this up before I came over, but
just you do confidently. You got it.
Ie de la Cité.
Ooh, fancy.
And into the Louvre. Making it into his liking, Charles added ornate rooftops, carved windows, spiral staircases, and even a beautiful garden. It was massive. So he was making it into pretty much a medieval castle, just like a beautiful area, because in this time we're in the medieval era.
Gotcha.
Let's fast forward a couple hundred years to King Francis I. I believe we talked about him briefly in that episode that we did 2 episodes with the Mona Lisa.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. In 1546, Francis started to shape the Louvre from a fortress and into a true palace. He demolished the tower as he was like, this is fugly, get this out of here. It does not look great.
Yeah.
And he started to add more medieval decor or push out the medieval decor and was like, I want Renaissance.
Ooh.
Because this was now the era of the Renaissance. So he was like, I want everything Renaissance. Get rid of this medieval shit. I'm tired of being cold. Bring in the red.
Are you doing the Renaissance?
Huh?
Are you doing the Renaissance?
No.
Oh, okay. Thought I cracked the code.
You're really trying to think. What does Beethoven have to do with the Renaissance?
I don't know. Music? Like music?
Now, Francis, keen on having the Renaissance style be incorporated, Francis started art collecting. One being that we know as the Mona Lisa.
Oh, yep. And we talked all about the abduction, so go check that
yeah.
out.
Oh, yeah. That was really fun.
Yeah.
To research. I love that. Now, Charles IX and Henry II would continue to add to the Louvre throughout the years, the Scott wing being built in 1576. As much was being built, it seemed the building that the construction was never ending, because they just kept building and building, and they're like, it's never ending. And this was becoming kind of an eyesore in a sense, because you're constantly having all of this like construction of like when you're building something, it has like all of like the areas where the people have to walk through and whatnot. Yeah. I don't know what it's called. It's a construction show.
Something.
That was until Catherine de Medici, the Queen of France and mother of Francis II, Charles IX, and Henry III. She came in and was like, we're doing more. Like, this is unacceptable. this place is fugly. Let's change it up. She's like, I'm tired of this. While her sons took the throne, Catherine decided to make the Louvre anew. She added to the west of the Louvre, Catherine built a mansion called the Tuileries Palace, where they could live comfortably. So it was a big old mansion, and she was just like, we're going to stay here. So the rest of the palace, fortress, whatever, can be its like own thing. We'll figure it out. Do the construction that you want for it, because that will be like the appeal for everybody to visit. But like to live and live comfortably, to live lavishly, we're going to stay in the Tuileries Palace.
Gotcha.
Yes. Remnants of the palace still actually survive of the Tuileries. I will get a little bit further of what happens to it, but if there is a section in the Louvre Museum that has parts of it still.
Oh, cool.
This museum is massive. It will take you days if you want to be a reader.
Yeah, so you might have to be a reader / runner.
I just want to spend time. I only want to go to
days.
Paris just to go to the Louvre.
That's fair.
So, and Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, I know. Just look at the Eiffel Tower and be like, okay, cool, and then move on to these things.
Pretty much, yeah. It's what I like. Now, remnants of the palace would still survive. A gallery would start to be made in 1595, but wouldn't be completed until Louis the 15th would reign.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how long construction was going on. So it was good on Catherine's part to be like, let's build something that we can actually live in.
Might be good to live, you know?
During the 17th century, so the 1600s, more galleries were being built inside. So this place was becoming like an art central. Like that was one thing France loved significantly and still does, is their art.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Even if it's not their own.
Yeah.
So one gallery that was being built was the Curie, the most eastern part of the Louvre. The south arm was the Cour des Sphinx. So it's kind of like, it's a very interesting layout. I highly recommend that you bring up a picture, because this place is constantly being like rebuilt and added onto throughout the year. So it's just like, it kind of gets bigger and bigger as it goes. Okay. Yeah. The second being for another one that was built of galleries was the Pavilion de Horloge. The pavilion was massive in size. This building would be built on the western side of the Curie. The artwork and decor would fill these rooms with painters of the day like Poussin, Lebrun, and Romanelli. So really big. And then, of course, we have the Mona Lisa.
Of course. Can't forget about her.
She has stayed in the Louvre for a long time. Like, that is her home. I can't imagine her leaving it.
Yeah, no.
And I know, like, a lot of the Italian, like, people are like, how dare they? But it's like, you have to remember that Francis bought it. Yeah. From Da Vinci.
It's theirs.
Yeah, because Da Vinci was like, oh, hell yeah, I want to sell you this art piece. Like, right. Yeah, legit. Now, of course, this work would be put on hold in 1674. If you don't know, this is when Louis the 14th decided to move to the royal palace quarters to Versailles. So no longer did the royal family want there. They wanted to move to Versailles. Did the Louvre then be abandoned? Nope. Instead, they filled it with ancient sculptures. So cool. They still wanted this to be, so it was kind of abandoned, but they still wanted to keep art there. So it just kind of didn't really have a solid use to it, I guess. It was in between the time of 1750 and 1785 when exhibitions of the Royal Art Collection was being done at Palais Luxembourg. But they were searching for a place that they wanted to be more permanent for this art, because this wasn't a place that they were going to hold the art forever. Gotcha. Like, it was being kind of like thrown around and whatever, just exhibitions just like popping up. And then they're like, the Louvre then came to mind. They're like, this could be a possible good chance, like, to actually use this palace for something.
Yeah.
Because it's massive in size. They were already putting so many different galleries. So, like, these rooms were prepped for art.
Right. You might as well put the...
Yeah. It was already enriched with history. It's so much history as it's been around since almost the 1200s, since before the 1200s.
Yeah.
So people could be flabbergasted by that.
Yeah.
And the Louvre could work. With the royal family had fallen, as we know. Our boy Louis the
14th?
There's so many
15th?
Louis.
16th?
I think this is the 16th. Yes. Louis the 16th was jailed and then beheaded. This will introduce the French Revolution. The Revolutionary Assemblée Nationale was set in motion that the Louvre became home to arts and sciences. 1793, the Louvre would open its doors for the first time. Yeah. To other than just the aristocracy and the rich people. Yeah. It started off as a training facility for artists, but the public could enter, actually. Well, only on Sundays. And, yeah.
Holiday.
Only the holy day they can only enter. But the public could see more as the exhibits continued, as more art was created and being brought there. Mm-hmm. So at first it was kind of just like whatever they had, and then whatever these trainees were going through for like the rest of the week, what they were creating. Yeah. But then they started adding more, and the public, it was free during this time too, and the public loved it. They were just like, oh, especially those who loved art, which was huge. A lot of people. Most people
probably.
Yeah. Another phase of the Louvre that occurred was when Napoleon Bonaparte took charge. Oh. Napoleon Bonaparte was a general who deemed himself France's emperor, and what he did best was invade and plunder. During his invasions, Napoleon would steal art and artifacts and place them in the Louvre. So he had a weird fascination with the Louvre for some odd reason. Mm-hmm. He loved art. But he loved the Louvre so much, but I think it was more so he loved himself, that he named the museum, he changed the name to Musée Napoléon. So that means Museum Napoleon.
What?
Yeah. This dude was something else. The art he stole would mostly eventually be returned, except Egypt's. So,
narcissist.
Well, during his time, he stole from all the different countries that he invaded, especially when he went into Europe. But the British army actually kind of like sideswiped. It was like, we're going to take that. So a lot of the British artifacts that he stole, you can find in the British Museum in London.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they were never returned.
Okay, so, cool.
During his reign, Napoleon would start the creating or like building the Rue de Rivoli building, which is still there to this day. Uh-huh. With the Bonaparte's family still in rule, his nephew would also have created the Grand Design, another gallery of the Louvre, and the South Gallery. The Louvre grew massive, and finally they decided to like call it completed in 1866. Mm-hmm. Which was like a huge time. It did get back its name, the Louvre. I hope you know.
I was going to ask about that. I'm like, how long?
It is probably until they finally were like,
fuck him.
Fuck the Bonapartes. Like, no. But terror would ensue the following years ahead, unfortunately. In 1871, the government of Paris was taken over by radicals that would set fire to the Louvre and burn down the Tuileries Palace.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that they still have remnants of it, because it did burn down, and they decided not to rebuild it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they decided to use something else, to build something else there. Mm-hmm. Now, there would be... it wasn't just the palace that got burned. There were other sections of the Louvre that did get burned, but they did repair those. Okay. They were just like, okay, let's repair this, but the mansion is gone. We can't rebuild it. I bet it would have been beautiful if they kept it. Yeah. On to another tragedy, moving forward at least a couple hundred years. about a cent, or actually, no, it was like a century later. Sorry. I don't know what day it is or what year it is. But we enter into World War II. Mm-hmm. Tensions since Hitler's rise to power started to form in all of Europe. Knowing Hitler's intentions of his feelings towards art and the collections, because if you didn't know, Hitler tried to be an artist before.
Yeah. Sad.
Yeah. Very interesting. So he had a very odd look into, or interesting view for art.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to burn a lot of it, but he also wanted to steal a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was mostly like certain books that he wanted to burn.
Jesus.
But yeah, art, it was like a love-hate relationship because I think it reminded him of his failure.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But like the art is beautiful.
He's like, why couldn't I have done that?
Yeah. Now, the Louvre, like the people working at the Louvre, they started to notice this and his intentions, and they were like, we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
So they started transferring artifact or like arts and like artifacts to the Chateau de Chambord as early as 1932.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they progressively started to transfer artwork. So they transferring into 1939. So a few years later, they had done 200 trips and had transferred 5,446 cases.
Jeez.
Yeah, of just artwork. So I can't imagine how much art they transferred over.
Oh my God. And
just thinking that there was still so much left at in the Louvre by the time like Hitler came.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it blows my mind how much art is in the Louvre.
Right.
And how much art has been created.
Dang.
Now, a side note, I just wanted to mention that my favorite sculpture, Nike of Ceramethus, was actually sent not there, but it was sent to the Chateau de Valence.
Ooh.
Yeah, I want to see that so bad. It's such a beautiful sculpture. If you haven't seen it, it is a statue of a winged woman, and her arms are not there, and her head is not there. They stole this from, I believe, Crate, and they believe it was Nike.
Yeah.
Because she is a goddess of victory.
Gotcha.
So, shoe brand.
I feel like I can picture it, but I don't know for sure. I might have to look up a picture later.
It is beautiful. I love it. It was good that they did move. They moved also like another big sculpture with Nike, but I just had to mention this because it's my favorite one. But when came 1940, around France, France became under German occupation. Mm-hmm. If you did not know that about World War II.
There you go.
France was not on the Ally side because they had been taken over by Germany.
Yeah.
Our collections were then being stolen left and right by the Germans. They were stealing from all over the world. They were stealing from Jewish homes who had art. They were just stealing artifacts. They were stealing anything that they could because they wanted to. Mm-hmm. Savages.
They just wanted to.
Absolute savages. And I'm not talking about like a cool way, but like beast.
The bad savage.
Yes.
Not the trendy.
Now, when Germans arrived to the Louvre, the priceless like artworks and like artifacts had mostly been moved. So only so many could be selected by high German officials. They would have German officials come in and they would get to choose which art pieces they wanted to have hanged in their room. So I was like, that's fucked up, but okay. In the area of where the Toulouse Palace once stood, this would become a warehouse of stolen art that the Germans would steal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they were doing this all throughout the war, and France just pretty much had to sit there and just hope that the war would end soon.
Jeez.
1945 would soon come around, and finally art wanted to be returned back to art started to return back to the Louvre. We can thank the Commission for Art Recovery on returning almost all of the art. There is a lot of art that is still missing. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of art that was burned, and there's a lot of art that is probably on the black market.
Dang, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. which is Monuments Men. I'll put that jab in there. I love them. Like, I just watching the movie and watching the scene where the Germans just burn the art just made me cry.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, that is history right there. And they just destroyed it. Classic. Human race.
Man, we keep talking about Germany.
Yeah. Well, they just like to put their head in.
4th week in a row. Pretty sure.
Now, fast forward into the 1980s, French President Francois Mitterrand decided to revamp the Richelieu wing. This became a massive project and bigger and more expensive than originally planned. Now, architect I.M. Pei would create the iconic symbol of the glass pyramid that we see.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At first, I was like, is that art itself? Which it is, but it's an entrance.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. Okay. This pyramid is placed in the center of where the tower used to be, with the Louvre surrounding it, and it used to hold the Ministry of Finance. But they moved them with the pyramid being built. They were just like, you guys need to leave. Because, like, I saw a picture, because I got most of my research from the Louvre website, but then I kind of did, like, an offshoot of just, like, it was a huge article that did, like, the full history of it, and I loved it. But with how it used to be is that because it's, like, in a square rectangle shape, that the finance, like, people were, like, right in the middle area, and so the parking was, like, right in the middle of like where now it's like the courtyard and like the pyramid and stuff, and it's like you never really think like this was a parking lot at some point.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing what they can do. Now, here is an entrance to the museum, but there are also entrances at the Carousel building, the Richelieu building, and the Port de Liaison building. So there's multiple entrances that you can get into, but I find that the pyramid one is probably one of the most popular because everybody wants to go into the pyramid because it's so freaking cool. Ugh, I want to go so bad. Now, the museum is open 9 to 6, Monday through Sunday, excluding Tuesdays, which I found very interesting that they're closed in the middle of the week on a Tuesday. Yeah. But I think it was like 14 pounds or whatever they use. Euros. 14 euros.
Oh, euros, yeah.
To get in, which is pretty affordable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cheaper than most museums here.
Tuesday's probably like a family day or something.
That's what I'm assuming, because I know that they do work weeks a little different.
Yeah, they like a lot of places in Europe
actually de-stress.
Right, like they get to take like a 3-hour lunch break and like eat with their family, and like it's just
that's one thing that like because I was talking to my coworker. I talk to my coworkers all the time.
That's good.
But we were talking about because I was watching YouTube videos on just like what like Europeans found weird about America, and they're like, the American dream is like you guys are so optimistic and like you just work a lot, and I'm like, and the guy, he kind of like the American kind of mentioned like, well, we kind of have to like really afford it, and I'm like, yeah, and they make it the standard that like you have to work 8 to 5 because if you don't, like you literally cannot afford to live.
Right. And
he was saying that like, oh, you can buy like a house for like if you find like an area for like $300,000, and being in the mortgage industry, I'm like, yeah, but then you can't find a job anywhere in those towns that you're moving to that has a $300,000 house.
Right.
So it's like almost impossible. I'm like, the American dream doesn't exist anymore.
Nope.
But so that's why I'm like, maybe we should pick up on like actually enjoying our lives.
Right.
That more of these countries do, because I feel like a lot of Americans, like, you work 5 days a week or even 7 days a week, depending on what you're doing, and working like 8-hour days. And it's just like by that time, you don't want to do anything.
That's all you're living for.
Yeah. And then you do 2 weeks of like vacation, if that.
It's weird that we're still at that point.
I know. It's just like it's really hard for people to like enjoy their life. So it's like you can strive to like be passionate and struggle, but like enjoy, or like you can like work to have that American dream, even though it's like you're working yourself to death and not really experiencing what the world has to offer. So it's just expensive for everything because America
it
is so
is.
expensive.
It's so sad.
Whatever. Let's move on. Now, the Louvre is now 652,000 square feet.
Damn.
It got really big. And it's housing over 380,000 objects and displays 35,000 works of art.
Wow.
That's why I'm saying you
Holy
gotta
shit.
you're reading 35,000 artworks.
Like a month, I feel like.
Yeah. It's continuous. And I'm sure they have exhibits that they like switch out too, so it's like fresh and new. Yeah. Included in this massive collection are paintings, drawings, sculptures, furnitures, textiles, jewelry, writing, and objects. Going through in one day seems almost impossible. Unless you're that runner. You could do it.
You could you run by.
Be like, oh, cool.
They'll probably just be like,
oh, cool.
Let's see the pyramid. And then they're like, Mona Lisa. And now we'll just run by everything else.
Pretty much. And the Mona Lisa is not that big, as we have talked about in that last episode.
It's in their own room, so can't only a few people go in at a time?
She's in her own room.
The line is probably so long.
Oh, yeah. They're just It's just a crowded room.
Dang.
Now, before COVID, there was a peak of 10 million visitors in a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I think after COVID, I think last year was like 2.5 million or something, which is still a lot.
That's still pretty good. Yeah.
And I mean, the money that they're probably getting from that is a
yeah.
lot. Now, to name only a few for like famous paintings, there is Theodore Géricault's, I'm pretty sure I slaughtered his last name, painting The Raft of the Medusa, which was painted in 1818 to 1819.
Okay.
I hadn't seen that one before, but man, it's beautiful.
That sounds really cool.
I love older art.
Yeah.
Or like the older Renaissance style art.
Oh, yeah, that's the best.
It's so pretty. Then we have, of course, the Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. We have my fave, the Winged Victory of Semiramis, which is also the Nike of Semiramis. Don't know who made it, but they stole it from Crete, which is near Greece. The last I'm going to mention is the Seated Scribe. That one, I believe, is Egyptian.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. Like the color is still there. Like it's really cool. They have so many though. Like I was about to name like a ton, and I was like, nah, I'm not about that.
We'll stop there.
Now, there's way too many works to name them all, but they all have their stories. So I was thinking of like, that would be cool to do like every once in a while, like a series of just artwork and their stories behind them, and like the artists.
Yeah.
Of like the works of the Louvre.
Fancy.
Now, to keep them organized, the Louvre also has its works sorted by department. Now, there is Louvre's painting collection of famous works in Western culture. We have the Egyptian antiquities. Director Jean-Francois Champollion solved the hieroglyphs. Like, he started to unravel them and kind of understand what they meant in 1822 here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Moving on is the Greek, Etruscan, and Roman antiquities. So many sculptures. I was kind of like, on their website, they have like an interactive map that like in each section you can find like the different pieces that are in there.
Oh, that's cool.
And oh my God, there's so many sculptures. Now we have the Near Eastern antiquities. Now this is primarily on the continent of Africa, excluding Egyptian, because Egyptian has its own. There is also the sculptures at the Louvre hold mostly the French sculptures. So there's like a whole sculpture section that's just French sculptures.
Ooh, fancy.
You have decorative arts like tapestries, stained glass, etc. Kind of just like that offset.
They're really cool.
I don't know how people do that.
Stuff.
I actually had to do in my art history class fabric arts. And it was really cool, but I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to cover this.
It is too much work.
There's some pretty cool ones, though. There is also the Islamic arts, which has been introduced in 2003 as they finally grew a collection big enough to house and really wanted to represent it. Mm-hmm. And then there's graphic arts, which is another, and this is where a huge collection of drawings are held.
Gotcha.
Now, the Louvre is an overwhelming place for the type of person who's a reader, but each work shares a story, even the buildings themselves. The Louvre is such a beautiful museum. I really want to go. If you guys have been there,
oh, please let us know.
let me know your favorite art piece, who your favorite artist is that you saw there, and would you go there again?
Yeah.
So that was the Louvre.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I really enjoyed researching that because I was just like, when we did the Mona Lisa one, I was like, oh, the Louvre is pretty cool. I wonder how long. I thought it was only been around for like maybe like a couple hundred years, and then I saw 800 years, and I was like, okay, this one this is our next one. So I had fun doing that one.
That's really interesting. It has a lot of history to it.
Yeah. What'd you learn?
Art will live on forever, never, never, never. You can't get rid of it.
Yeah. Different aspects of it. Like we have art as old as pictographs or pictoglyphs, which are really cool. And then up to a banana nailed to a wall.
And then,
I don't get that.
Random scribbles with paint.
I don't get it. But then again, I have specific art style.
Abstract paint to me, I'm like, what is
I can't. I like landscape painting on oil and watercolor can be really pretty. But Renaissance art is like on oil is different.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, there you go. That's episode.
Yay! Where can you find us?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Historia the Podcast. You can email us and, again, tell us if you've been to the museum. What art do you enjoy the most at historiathepodcast@gmail.com.
Heck yeah. We'll catch you next week with...
We will.
with fun episodes.
Yay.
And a big one coming soon.
And I'm going to try to crack the code. Yay. You guys try as well.
Yes, let me know.
I'll pay you $1.50 if you get it.
Okay.
Don't forget. Okay. Bye.
Bye.